Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us, and welcome to another episode of the DK podcast show. And today I'm joined by Heidi Brauer. Heidi, thank you so much for joining me today.
Pleasure. Thanks for the invite.
And so, Heidi, you were explaining to me how to pronounce your company name, Heidi B and Co. What is the story behind
It's
that?
such a silly thing. Email addresses have always been your first name and then the initial. So my email address has always been Heidi B at wherever I was. And then when Twitter came along and I wanted the first time to have a Twitter handle, I thought it would be easy. I'll just have Heidi B. And it said taken. And clearly I was in a rush and irritated, so I added an E. I don't know how I ever thought that would be a great Twitter handle. It said taken. So I kept adding E's until it said winner. And then there were 4 E's, and that was it. And then, Twitter was such a big part of our lives, our business lives in the early days, that people started calling me Heidi B. And then when I went on my own between Kalula and Hollard, and I needed a name for my business,
It was a
it was stuck.
natural. Yeah.
So
No, I
it's
love it.
the
It's
reason.
definitely something that sticks with you and stands out because everything is just so boring out there, and this is definitely not boring. So, Heidi, we're here to talk about brand love because I see you very much as the brand love guru. And so I'm going to jump straight in and ask you a couple of questions on brand love and how do you build brand love? So let's start with the basics of what is brand love?
I think the first thing is to just make sure that we are all aware that consumers are not sitting around waiting to fall in love with you, whether they're B2B or B2C consumers. They're not sitting there waiting to fall in love with you, and they are just overwhelmed and inundated with messaging from less than humble communicators who think that their message is the only message. And in fact, I'm going to show you some of my little thingies. This is the first philosophy of brand love, is to say, oh, there's no new thing under the sun. And and if you can start really humbly by going, actually, I probably sell the same as the next person. Um, and I'm probably only differentiate. I'm lucky if I'm differentiated by brand or customer experience. Then that's a real humble way to start, and that's the beginning of finding a way to express yourself to your target market. That gives you the teeniest hope of helping people fall in love with you. Is starting with the humility of realizing that you are probably indistinct from anybody else.
I love it. I love it. Humility is it's so yeah, it's the goal. I read a Harvard Business Review article years and years ago that said that the top ranked companies that lasted, 50 years and plus, when they boiled it down to the essence of what was the success of these top companies who had lasted so long or brands that had lasted so many years, it was a humble CEO. The CEO
Wow.
always said, "It's not me, it's my team. It's not me, it's my team." So humility, wow, that's the start, and that's a beautiful core to have at the core of your brand because it is linked to gratitude and then appreciation instead of pride and arrogance of like,
Yes.
yeah, which I think can easily quite crumble down and fall down
Yeah.
on you and crush you. So my next question then is, how do you start building brand love? What is the starting point once you've determined that, okay, maybe we're not as special as we think we are? How do you start building brand love?
So it's so interesting because this morning I had my first session with this new thing, and I'm not here to pitch it at all, but it's about more than marketing. It's just helping people fall in love with their brands sometimes again. And actually, in the first group this morning, we were talking about maybe the first thing is to just actually, the notion of me, we, and us is to think about falling in love first with yourself again, because
Sorry. I definitely silenced this, and yet it is ringing. So I'm going to just, because obviously the technology is beyond me, I'm just going to put this outside of the room. Give me one second. Sorry, you were talking about the more than marketing?
yes, I'm just saying that we're recognizing this morning a room full of marketers that actually to have enough energy to put into your brand to help other people fall in love with it. Perhaps you have to be You have to have the energy and love for your own brand first. I know it sounds really very meta, but I think that's true, because to be really passionate about something that is likely indistinctive from anybody else's something, you need to really give your heart and soul. But I think the first thing, after you've found the energy, after you've humbly recognized that there's nothing new under the sun, my philosophy is about building a cake, baking a cake, that you have to protect your probably indistinct product um, between layers of deliciousness that will make you distinctive. And that will be things like great customer experience, things like beautiful brand communications, things like social investment that you may do, things that will help people to see you in amongst the clutter of everything else that's going on. And so I think understanding that it's not just about your advertising or what your logo looks like. It's a multi-layered cake or sandwich. I use cake, even though I can't bake, but a multi-layered sandwich cake in which your probably parity product is protected by layers and layers of deliciousness.
It's so funny you say that, because yesterday I had a call with Stuart Dunk, and he helps agencies differentiate. And he says agencies are drowning in a sea of sameness, and every agency is exactly the same. And I'm an agency, and he actually said to me, he actually said on the call, if you open your website and it says we are a creative integrated marketing agency, says then that's a fail. And that's literally what my website said. So I went in
Yeah.
immediately after that, and I started to differentiate, because I think I think people are looking for some big wow kapow to differentiate their brands. But what you mentioned is that it may already be there, and it sounds like
Yeah.
differentiation is there. You just have to talk about it and not just focus on the thing that you think everybody wants to hear.
Yes, exactly. Because, so, I've worked in airlines and insurance and all sorts of things. And I've worked in my years of market research with, just name a category in the country, and I've worked with it, even down to forklift trucks. But the thing is, the functional offering is the parity thing. And people already know that they want that thing, mostly, unless you're entering a new category. And we can talk about that too. But then you have to help people see you separate from everybody else, because an insurer is an insurer is an insurer. I can't even say it quickly enough. And an airline is an airline, an airline. You put your seat on a bum. You put your bum on a seat, rather, and you would have already chosen safety. Have you ever seen an airline position themselves on safety? No, but logically, that's an offering, but it's a given.
Yes.
And so you have to separate all that stuff and then go and look inside and see what the juicy yumminess is inside. And now that I'm back consulting again and I'm working with all kinds of different businesses, I tell you, when we sit in a room and we go to this humble place of saying there's no new thing under the sun. Now, what do we have? And we go digging in everybody's heads and we put it on the table. There is always something delicious that you can put into your cake to offer in a way that will make people fall in love.
So, what do you do when the very top doesn't buy into all this soft, fluffy nonsense, this marketing BS, and they just want sales, 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 and they don't see any value in the icing sugar on the cake?
Well, so first of all, and I'm gonna dig and I'm gonna find you a beautiful little illustration. All of these are done by me by hand. I mean, I have a future. No, I don't really, but that's not what I want to show you. I think that the thing to realize is that there's a business objective to everything, that we're not doing it. My former CEO at Hallard, Saxon Tumbela, used to say, please, I don't want just the brand bleeding heart stuff. I need business as well. And it never can just be brand bleeding heart stuff. You always have to figure what the business objective is. Business objective before anything else. We're not in service of a campaign. We're in service of a brand and a business objective. And that's the problem, I think, today with so many of those agencies who all describe themselves the same, as you've just correctly said, is that if you ask what the objective of the campaign is or the communication is, They will tell you impressions, likes, click-through rates, view-through rates. It's never the objective. The objective is always a business objective. Here's my little illustration. It says, in order to make money, we have to take people through a journey. They have to know who you are, what you stand for, then what you sell, have a great customer experience. You have to be their favorite, per Richard Mulholland, and then you will make money through business enhancing behaviors, attraction, retention, and enhancement. But you can't start at the bottom, and that's what I will say with any CEO, and you can't fault the logic. You can't expect the bottom, the money. I can't even show you where it is. Yeah. You can't expect the money to come unless you've built all those foundational paths so that people can give you their money. And when you present that as a logic, and when you say everything I do is with a business objective as its goal, I really don't find an argument ever.
Wow.
Because otherwise you're winking in the dark, really. What's the point? You're never going to make money if people don't know that you exist, don't know how you're distinct from anybody else, etc. And it's an iterative thing all the time. We're through the process.
That is so clever. I love your little funnel of brand, the funnel journey to brand love. I love your little drawings and how simple they are and so visual. Are you busy writing a book, or have you written the book, or is the book?
The book exists. The book is here, and I've been writing it and putting little pieces in it, and these all emerge from the book because I think that I don't have the discipline to actually produce it. So all the content is all over the place now, but not in a book. So
I have the same problem.
When I'm a grown up one
I
day.
need someone to sit and write all the things. Can I delegate it? Yeah,
Yeah.
that is so clever. And Heidi, okay, and this is just in parentheses, and this is, you are way smarter than me and have got way more knowledge than me. But can I just say it is a sign of sheer genius to be able to simplify everything. As you know, complexity, any fool can produce complexity, but to boil it down to simplicity, as you have with your little pictures, I think it's just a little picture book, like even a hard paper, those hard paper, like
Yeah.
almost like a cute funny thing, and they can QR code to your video where you talk about that page, and it's almost like a little brand 101 for babies, but it's for marketers, and it's your cute little pictures because they're so professional, they're so easy to get. The minute you look at them,
I
you're like,
love that. What a cool idea, and feels eminently doable. Much more doable than one publisher who told me I needed 30 million words, and I was like, it's never going to happen.
never gonna happen.
But you just apply a bit of logic to and have an adult conversation with a CEO. And I'll tell you, that's the other problem, is that marketers, and you know that I am digging for another drawing. This came from my first year varsity. It's from Eric Byrne's transactional analysis. We spend so much time being parented by CEOs and then responding in a child fashion. If we can just go in and have adult conversations and appeal to common sense and logic, then the whole world is different. And change people's heads instead of saying, let's talk about my favorite example, the broker roadshow, and report back how was it. The brokers loved the food and they loved the speaker. No, but that wasn't the business objective for it. So what was the business objective and how did we do? And just orientate oneself in the business objective. Go and ask marketers what, I don't know, in insurance, gross written premium or turnover. Go and ask them the numbers. And I'm terrible at remembering numbers. Everybody knows that. I'm famous for it. Marketers can't tell you. I mean, in a ballpark, you at least have to know. And then you know what the challenge is that you have to overcome, and it gets much more exciting.
So let's unpack the broker roadshow, because I've worked with financial services companies, and we've done the broker roadshow, and so what are you saying? What was success supposed to be, and what should it be?
Yes. So for me, it is it's like safety in an airline. You are nothing's going to be in your competitive set. An airline isn't going to be in your competitive set if it's not safe. We flew to Asia in December, And people say, what are you flying? Not, and they'll tell you the ones that they wouldn't even consider because it's not safe.
Yeah.
And there's certain non-negotiables. So if you're doing a broker roadshow, the venue must be superb, the food must be superb, the speaker must be compelling, the content must be gorgeous, all of that stuff. But that's hygiene factor stuff. That's ticket to the game stuff. You are doing that all in service of something.
Yeah.
More share of wallet, awareness of a new product and uptake of a new product. Those are the business objectives that you're trying to reach, which are being helped. I can't find the word now. Which are being, which the broker roadshow is trying to facilitate. That's the word I am looking for. So it is not negotiable that it's a fantastic event, but in service of what business objective? And I was at a conference recently. We were talking about why South African, the quality of South African advertising has taken a dump, nosedive, and you can see that in the lorries and can over the last year or two. And part of it is the relationship that agencies have with their clients. Part of it, there are a million things. They talk about juniorization. But really, if you ask people what the business objective is of their campaign, they either can't tell you or they'll tell you 10 things. And it can never be 10 things. It can only be 1 or 2, maybe 3. And that can lead me to another little rant about award entries, which at the moment are making me want to shoot myself in the head.
Well, go, rant. I want to hear.
Oh, shit, can I rant? I'm judging one now. Well, I'm finished. Every year, I swear I'll never do it again. But I learn so much, and I'm grateful for the peer discussion, and it's very much a learning opportunity. But how can people, smart people, not link an objective to an outcome? I don't get it. So this one in particular was really brilliantly constructed to help entrants. 50% of the marks are for your strategy, which you must list smart objectives. 25% execution, 25% metrics, which must link back to your objectives.
Yes.
It just doesn't happen.
Oh, that's
people retrofit.
Marketing 101.
Undisciplined people retrofit things. And then let's not talk about digital and the fact that everybody, Peter Drucker said you can't manage what you don't measure, but you can't only do what you can measure. So everybody just throws digital metrics all over the place and forgets that the business objective was to sell more bottles of what, or to, but then the results, the return on investment is measured in impressions. No.
No, listen, it does my head in. I get clients that say, but it didn't work. And then I'm like, okay, what is work? Let us unpack work. What were we trying to do? No, well, the social media didn't sell. Social media doesn't sell. Social media is not sales media. We've got different tools that do different things. So I totally get that. I don't know, is it education? Is it just
I don't know. I think sometimes it's the relationship. My other thing I always say, it takes a village to raise a brand. So there's the brand, and it takes a whole village around you. The problem is a lot of the time that the marketer isn't open and generous enough, sometimes because of lack of confidence. Imagine they're not communicating with their CEO, therefore they can't communicate with their agencies. For me, as a marketer, it was always my mission to make my agencies as familiar with my category, my brand, my business, what's keeping me up at night, as I am. Because we're going to raise this brand child together.
Yeah.
And I tell you, you have to put all sorts of disciplines and rituals and things in place to make sure that is perpetuated. It's flipping hard work.
Yeah.
But I tell you, the minute somebody touches your brand from an agency, they've got a newbie guy who maybe have lots of experience, but he's never touched your brand. We could tell it a mile away. So I think that's one of it. And then And then quite simply is, I think the notion of strategy is so confusing for people. But really what it is, what is it? There's a beginning, a middle, and an end. Imagine the end, now start from the beginning and plan it. But just have to be logical and then not forget this. I always say you have to keep the main thing the main thing.
Yeah.
What is the main thing? What are you doing this for?
Yeah.
But people get so sucked in the detail, they forget to just. And how do we help people fall in love if we don't even remember what they're falling in love with?
Mm. I think that's probably the problem. I see my job is to bring order out of chaos. My clients come to us with chaos, and it is my
Yeah,
job to bring order out of chaos. But in order to be that way, you have to have the ability to be organized. Like if I can open your sock drawer and it's just a schmoosh, that's something you need to work on. And like I am a super anally organized person, like my cupboards, everything is like by type. And I can order chaos quite quickly, but it's something
yeah,
that I have had to learn. And I think this is maybe the problem. People are dealing with a huge amount of everything.
yes,
Digital, you
yes,
said we've just got, before we couldn't measure anything. Now we can measure everything, and people have like analysis paralysis and they're
totally.
overwhelmed and there's just too much going on. And everyone's trying to do too much. It's like when the fax machine was like, this is going to make your life easier, and it just made life faster. And then the cell phone came, it's going to make your life easy, just made life faster. And now we've got AI and just made life faster. And so now
Yeah,
instead of having less to do, we have more to do, and there's
exactly.
utter chaos. That's why I come back to your simplicity of your little drawings, and that simplicity is missing.
That's why I think back to this little one is that what are you trying to do? What is that campaign's job? Is it to do this or this or this or this or this? It can really be as simple as that.
Mm.
And then you can make sure you're on track with the right messaging, the right whatever. I'll tell you the other thing that I think is a problem is that people are not persistent and consistent. Is that they change agencies far too quickly. And remember, your agency is only the human beings. There's no machinery. It's only a human. It takes time to
Mm.
build relationships. And
Yep.
they're very quick to change creative, especially in the digital era. And my philosophy, I learned this a long time ago, and I heard it from Mark Ritson not so last year, maybe the year before last year, where there's research done to show that wear out on adverts takes much longer than you think.
Mm.
And my philosophy is that when you've got your recipe or your communication, you must repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat. And when you're sick to death of it, you must repeat it again. Because the truth is, as I said right in the beginning, the consumer is like bombarded with tons of stuff. And they've probably like spotted your thing out the corner of their eye once.
Mm.
Give them a chance by repeating and repeating and not going, oh God, I'm so bloody sick of that campaign. Time for a new one or time for a new agency. We just
Yeah.
don't think of things from the customer's point of view. We get bored too quickly and we change things too quickly. And digital is making us have even more ADD.
So, Heidi, we were just talking about the huge amount of chaos that marketers are faced with and brands are faced with. How do you reduce the chaos? What is the formula? What should people be doing?
So yeah, I think there's actually a great recipe to use, and it's got to do with being a magician.
Ah,
Um, my grandfather was a magician. Literally, I even have a photo of him here for you. If
wow.
you could see it very close up, you can see that there's even a string holding up the thing. But I've got access to all of his old magic books and where he bought his tricks from and so on. And one day I was thinking, how we all know it's not really magic. I mean, my wand's my wand, but how does like David Copperfield make a bunch of adults believe an airplane's vanished, a jumbo jet in front of them? And I realize it's actually three things. And if we just think methodically about those three things, this is what they are. The first is he decided he wanted to make people believe an airplane vanished. That's conceptualizing something, having an intention, a strategy, knowing what you want to set out to do. Then the next thing is he engineered it. He worked with people to figure out how he was going to get that right. How was he going to conceivably make people believe that this jumbo jet had disappeared. And the third thing was he executed it exquisitely. And and I think too much of the time we get head into execution mode before we've really considered how it works. And I suppose if I were to add a last thing, it's by the round of applause that he knows that he was successful. So how do you know you were successful? We have to stop rushing to execute. We have to think first. What do we want people to believe? How are we going to do it? And then execute. So it's my magician's theory of anti-chaos in
So
brand building.
do you find people are just jumping straight into execute and they haven't started with concept when maybe goals is the step above concept? Like, what are we trying to achieve?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely,
And that's why they
absolutely.
can't measure because they didn't know what they were trying to fix in the beginning. They just did a whole lot of stuff.
No, absolutely. And and I think sometimes agencies and clients, there's such a tentative, tenuous relationship that the agencies are too shit scared to query and to really ask, because then the client might decide not to do it or to put it on hold, and they've got bills to pay, and it's just they're
Oh,
just a clash of
sad.
things.
And the agency
Um,
needs to win awards. And if you see our awards, they're performance-based awards. We don't go for the glory-based awards.
Creative awards. So I think that's exactly the problem. Sometimes some of the people that I work with will send me in a WhatsApp just an image of a piece of creative, either for digital or for whatever, and they say, "What do you think?" What's my first question? Is what is its intention? What's its job of work? I can't tell you what I think. I can tell you if there's a typo or it looks unbalanced or whatever because I'm a frustrated creative. But unless I know what its intention is,
Mm.
I can't tell you. I can't have an
I think the
opinion.
problem is people don't know the meaning of this saying anymore. How long is a piece of string? Because I use that all the time. Okay, and fine, I use it a lot more with quoting and costings and stuff like that. How long is a
Yeah,
piece of string? But I think it comes back down to that is understanding the intention of something. What is it
yeah,
meant to be doing? And going
yeah.
back to questioning. So it it might. I do think that the agency client dynamic is unhealthy. I think you're right. I think especially with the bigger brands, the bigger agencies, there's a lot of things that are not healthy, like you said.
Mhm.
I met with I heard one of the ladies from Red Bull speaking, and she said that they they see it as it takes a year for an agency to understand their brand and their business, and they sell one can, and they see it as it takes a year, and they invest in that relationship, and it is a long-term relationship. And I thought that was absolutely stunning. I've been quoting her the whole
100%.
now.
And then procurement people want you to rotate every 3 years. They just don't understand. This one. This is maybe my favorite. Is people do business with people, not companies.
Mm,
And like we said a little earlier, is that ad agencies don't have a manufacturing machinery. They're people. And the thing that I ask, I've got a part of this book that may or may not ever see the light of day, but it's just the notion of the success, I think, in any relationship comes from cake and grace, realizing that you're not unique and building cake layers. And grace is how you show up and how you present yourself every day. And one of the things when I talk about cake and grace is I say to the team, when last did you go for a walk with your chief creative? Or when did you take your client for a walk? With no agenda,
mm,
just so that you can connect and so that you can understand what's keeping each other up at night.
mm,
I mean, I can talk about this for 2 hours.
mm.
Um, People are not connecting. There's all this nonsense. Um, you never want to be the one at the receiving end of being called the bloody agency or the bloody client, but it goes on every day.
Mm.
Um, we're missing adult relationships. We're missing really understanding each other's, putting each other's shoes on. And everything would be richer if we just remembered that people do business with people, not companies.
And from a B2B side, because we're a B2B agency, I think it's important that the agency goes on client meetings and just sit there quietly and actually engage with the sales reps and the people at the coal face and really understand the client problem, the problem that we are solving, the needs, because I think there's so many insights that also come out when you're just a little bit more involved on the absolute receiving end cold face. Yeah.
Definitely. To go to another maybe forgotten and needs to be used more expression like a piece of string is that we have two ears and one mouth.
Okay.
And often there's just not enough listening. I was actually this morning, I'm just going to reach, referencing this book,
Yes.
Nancy Kline, Time to Think. We
Yes.
just don't give it.
No.
We all in such a rush. We
Yes.
just not
No,
considering.
it's absolutely insane. And my personality is a busy personality, and this whole chaos feeds it. And so I tend to become even more tightly wound, like the spring just gets tighter and tighter and tighter. And I love the idea of going for a walk and actually just like disconnecting, consciously disconnecting from this lunatic treadmill
Yeah.
and going with your client into quiet spaces and yeah, doing things like
Yeah.
anyway.
In
Heidi,
fact, I
any
did.
last
I did.
wisdoms from you? Any last pictures from you?
I've got 4 million pictures I could show you. My favorite, of course, being once I had to do a fireside chat online, so I made fire.
I do see you, you are a frustrated artist and creative.
No, but you know what? I think if I were just to summarize, I think building brand love amongst your consumers. I mean, it's a brand love cascade, if you like. It has to start with you and how energized and motivated you feel about your own abilities to connect people, bring them together, and get them passionate about the brand so that they can make your consumers passionate about the brand. So
Maybe
it's a
that's the fireplace. Like if you don't have your brand fire burning within you, ignite it
mm,
first. Take some time to ignite it there with you in your agency, and then it'll light in your customers. Heidi,
yep.
you are amazing. Thank you so much for your time, and I look
Thank
forward to your book one day. Thanks, everybody.
thank you.
Thank you.